Most people don't fail because they're incapable. They fail because they never wake up. They move through life half asleep, repeating yesterday's habits, complaining about today's problems, and hoping tomorrow magically becomes different. They wait for motivation. They wait for clarity. They wait for the perfect moment. And while they wait, life passes. But a small minority, the top 10%, live differently. They live with a level of discipline, awareness, and intention the other 90% never discover. Not because they're better, not because they're chosen, but because they made a decision: I will not live my life unconsciously. This decision is where greatness begins. Not in talent, not in opportunity, not in luck, but in awakening the moment you finally see the truth of your own potential. Marcus Aurelius said, "It is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste much of it." Most people waste their days on distraction. They waste their energy on worrying. They waste their potential trying to avoid discomfort. The top 10% don't. They understand a simple Stoic truth: if you do not control your mind will control you. Think about the last time you felt stuck. Was it really a lack of ability? Or was it your mind convincing you to stay where it's safe? The 90% let their emotions dictate their actions. They wait to feel ready, feel motivated, feel confident, feel inspired. But those feelings rarely arrive, and when they do, they disappear just as quickly. The top 10% understand that motivation is unreliable. So instead of waiting for emotion, they build identity. They tell themselves, "I am disciplined, I am focused, I finish what I start, I do what needs to be done." And because identity drives action, they begin to live those truths. Epictetus taught that freedom is achieved not by getting what you want, but by having the strength to control what you can and detach from what you can't. The 90% obsess over the uncontrollable. What people think, what might go wrong, what others are doing, whether success comes quickly. The top 10% obsess over one thing: their daily actions. They don't ask, "Will this work?" They ask, "Is this worth doing?" They don't say, "I hope." They say, "I decide." And this is the first Stoic shift required to enter the top tier of life. Shift your focus from outcome to effort. Outcomes can be unpredictable. Effort is completely in your hands. Once you focus on what you can control, your habits, your routine, your reactions, your mindset, you become unstoppable. Because the world can no longer shake you the way it shakes everyone else. The Stoics believed that greatness is not built in extraordinary moments, but in ordinary days, where you choose discipline over comfort. Most people want success, but they refuse the discomfort required to earn it. They want a strong mind, but avoid the challenges that strengthen it. They want a meaningful life, but live without intention. The top 10% choose differently every single day. They choose purpose, they choose resilience, they choose responsibility, they choose awareness, they choose discomfort when needed. And because of those choices, their lives begin to separate from the pack. Today is your turning point, the moment you stop living on autopilot and start living with intention. The moment you say, "I am done being ordinary. I am stepping into the top 10%. I choose to awaken." This is where your Stoic journey begins. If there is one trait that separates the top 10% from the rest of the world, it's not talent, it's not luck, it's not opportunity, it is discipline. Most people know what they need to do, they just don't do it. They wait for motivation, they wait for a better time, they wait for life to become convenient. But nothing great is ever built in convenience. The Stoics understood this better than anyone. Marcus Aurelius woke up each morning, reminding himself that he was born to work like a human being, not to sleep endlessly, not to drift through life, not to avoid effort. He wrote, "At dawn, when you have trouble getting out of bed, tell yourself, I have to go to work as a human being." Discipline is the ability to do what matters, especially when you don't feel like it. The 90% live by emotion. If they're tired, they stop. If they're unmotivated, they procrastinate. If something feels uncomfortable, they avoid it. The top 10% live by intention. If it's important, they do it tired or not. They don't negotiate with their excuses. They don't argue with their responsibilities. They don't let feelings decide their future. They understand a simple truth. Your feelings are not the problem, your obedience to them is. Discipline is not about being strict or harsh. It is about being aligned with your goals, aligned with your values, aligned with the life you want to build. Think about your own life. How many times have you said, "I'll start tomorrow. I'll do it later. I'll be serious next week." But tomorrow comes, later comes, next week comes, and nothing changes because the decision never becomes action. Discipline turns decisions into reality. Epictetus said, "If you want to improve, be content to be thought foolish and stupid." Why? Because disciplined people do things the undisciplined consider strange. They go to bed early. They wake up before the sun. They spend their free time sharpening their mind. They choose discomfort over pleasure. They choose growth over entertainment. They choose long-term rewards over short-term comfort. The majority mocks what they secretly envy. But here's the truth the 90% never realize. Discipline is not punishment, it is liberation. It frees you from regret. It frees you from weakness. It frees you from the emotional roller coaster that ruins lives. It frees you from the chaos of living without direction. The disciplined person wakes up knowing exactly who they are and what they're building, and that clarity feels better than any comfort. You don't need to transform overnight. You don't need to become a machine. You just need to start with small, consistent actions. Wake up when you said you would. Do the work you promised yourself. Honor your own word. Show up even when it's not easy. Every small act of discipline builds a stronger identity, and identity creates momentum that becomes unstoppable. The 90% rely on motivation. The top 10% rely on discipline, because discipline is the only reliable bridge between where you are and where you want to be. Today, ask yourself, are you living by feelings or by intention? Are you controlled by excuses or guided by commitment? Are you drifting or directing your life? The moment you choose discipline, you take your first real step into the top 10%. If discipline is the first gate into the top 10%, then radical responsibility is the second. Most people never enter this gate because it requires something they fear more than failure: honesty. Not the kind of honesty you show to others, but the honesty you show to yourself. The 90% blame everything except themselves, their past, their parents, their boss, the economy, circumstances, luck, timing, other people's behavior. They always find a reason to avoid looking inward. Marcus Aurelius warned about this mindset thousands of years ago. He wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." The 90% do the opposite. They focus entirely on outside events and ignore the only thing truly in their control: their own decisions. Radical responsibility means this: everything in your life is either something you created or something you allowed. Let that sink in. Your habits, you built them. Your environment, you tolerate it. Your stress, you feed it. Your mindset, you shape it. Your results, you earn them, good or bad. Most people reject this truth because it destroys their excuses. but the top 10% embrace it because it gives them power. You cannot change what you do not claim ownership of. You cannot improve what you refuse to admit. And you cannot transform a life you constantly blame on everything but yourself. Epictetus said, "If someone succeeds in provoking you, realize that your mind is complicit." In other words, no one controls you unless you hand them the control. Radical responsibility is not about blaming yourself for everything. It is about claiming your ability to respond to everything. The Stoics taught that suffering does not come from events. It comes from the meaning you attach to them. Two people can experience the same hardship. One breaks, one grows, one complains, one adapts. One avoids responsibility, one takes ownership and moves forward. The difference isn't circumstance, it's mindset. Look at your own life. Think of a time you blamed someone else for your situation. Did blame improve anything? Did it move you forward? Or did it keep you stuck exactly where you were? Blame feels good in the moment because it removes pressure, but it traps you long-term because it removes power. The top 10% know that responsibility is freedom. When you take ownership of your choices, your habits, your reactions, your path, you gain control over your destiny. This doesn't mean everything is your fault, but it means everything is your responsibility. Your healing is your responsibility. Your discipline is your responsibility. Your growth is your responsibility. Your focus is your responsibility. Your progress is your responsibility. Your future is your responsibility. No one is coming to save you. No miracle is coming to fix your life. No inspiration is coming to force you to act. It's you. It has always been you. Radical responsibility is the mindset that separates the top 10% from the rest. Once you take ownership of your life, obstacles become teachers, not excuses. Failures become data, not disasters. Challenges become opportunities to practice strength. If you want to rise above the 90%, start by saying the sentence they fear most. My life is in my hands, and so is my future. This is the moment your power begins. If there is one thing that quietly destroys more potential than anything else, it is emotional impulsiveness. People think their biggest enemy is failure, or lack of talent, or lack of opportunity. But for most, the real enemy is their inability to master their own emotions. Stoicism teaches a truth few people want to hear. You cannot control the world, but you can always control your response to it. The 90% never learn this. They live life reacting to stress, reacting to negativity, reacting to discomfort, reacting to fear, reacting to every small emotional wave that passes through them. Someone insults them, they explode. Someone doubts them, they shrink. Someone succeeds, they envy. Someone misunderstands them, they spiral. They live like emotional puppets, pulled by whatever feeling appears in the moment. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events." But most people give that power away instantly. The top 10% don't. Instead of reacting, they pause. Instead of exploding, they observe. Instead of taking things personally, they redirect. Instead of drowning in emotion, they separate themselves from it. They know emotions are temporary. They know feelings are not facts. They know the first reaction is almost always the worst reaction. Emotional mastery doesn't mean suppressing your feelings. It means understanding them and choosing your response instead of being owned by impulse. Think about the last time you reacted emotionally. Did the reaction help you? Did it improve the situation? Did it reflect who you want to be? Or did you regret it afterward? Epictetus said, "Any person capable of angering you becomes your master. Not because they control your life, but because they control your mind." The top 10% refuse to hand that control to anyone. They practice a skill the 90% avoid, the art of stepping back. When something triggers them, they pause. When anxiety appears, they breathe before acting. When fear arises, they analyze it instead of obeying it. When discomfort shows up, they lean into it instead of escaping. This pause, this moment of awareness, is the difference between chaos and power. Most people lose opportunities not because they lack ability, but because their emotions sabotage them. They quit too early. They respond too harshly. They get offended too easily. They panic when challenged. They avoid discomfort instead of growing from it. Emotional impulsiveness destroys discipline, destroys relationships, destroys progress, and destroys self-respect. But emotional mastery builds everything. A stable mind leads to stable habits. Stable habits lead to consistent action. Consistent action leads to results, and results lead to confidence. This is how the top 10% rise, while others stay stuck. The Stoics practiced emotional mastery daily, not by avoiding hard moments, but by welcoming them as training. Every setback is a chance to build patience. Every insult is a chance to build strength. Every fear is a chance to build courage. Every discomfort is a chance to build resilience. Life stops being something that happens to you and becomes something that happens for your growth. If you want to join the top 10%, start here. When emotion rises, do not react. Pause. Observe. Choose. Because the person who controls their emotions controls their life. If there is one truth the top 10% understand better than anyone else, it is this: pain is not the enemy. Pain is the path. Most people spend their entire lives trying to avoid discomfort. They run from challenges. They numb their emotions. They distract themselves from struggle. They hide from anything that feels difficult or uncertain. But the Stoics taught that avoiding pain is the fastest way to become weak, and facing pain is the fastest way to become strong. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." The 90% see obstacles as reasons to stop. The top 10% see obstacles as invitations to grow. Think about this clearly. A muscle only grows by resisting weight. A mind only grows by solving problems. A character only grows by facing hardship. A spirit only grows by enduring discomfort. You become powerful not by escaping difficulty, but by surviving it. Most people collapse at the first sign of struggle because they believe pain means something is wrong. The top 10% believe the opposite. Pain often means you are exactly where you need to be. When you step into a new level of your life, discomfort follows. When you try something meaningful, fear appears. When you break old habits, resistance shows up. When you change your identity, your mind fights back. The 90% interpret this resistance as a sign to quit. The top 10% interpret it as a sign to continue. Seneca said, "Difficulties strengthen the mind, as labor does the body." Every challenge is training. Every setback is feedback. Every failure is data. Every struggle is sharpening you for what comes next. Pain is not your punishment. Pain is your preparation. Look at your own life. Think of the times you grew the most. Were they easy moments, or were they born from hardship, disappointment, rejection, or loss? Strength is forged in fire, not comfort. The 90% spend years running from the very experiences that would transform them. They want confidence without risking embarrassment. They want growth without discomfort. They want success without sacrifice. They want progress without resistance. But the top 10% embrace the Stoic truth. You cannot become powerful while living safely. They choose challenges deliberately. They step into uncertainty willingly. They treat pain as information, not as a threat. They learn from what others complain about. They grow through what others avoid. This doesn't mean they enjoy suffering. It means they understand its purpose. Pain teaches you clarity, what matters and what doesn't. Pain teaches you humility, what you must still learn. Pain teaches you resilience, how to stand back up. Pain teaches you discipline, how to stay the course. Pain teaches you wisdom, how to live with perspective. Epictetus said, "Difficulties show what men are. When life is easy, everyone looks strong. But when life becomes hard, the difference between the 90% and the top 10% becomes clear. You rise or you retreat. You learn or you collapse. You grow or you stay the same. If you want to enter the top 10%, you mustn't ask for an easier life. Ask for the strength to handle a challenging one. Pain is not the obstacle. Pain is the forge. And if you allow it, pain will turn you into someone unstoppable. If there is a single mindset that separates the top 10% from the rest of the world, it is this: the 90% live for today. The top 10% live for 10 years from today. Most people make decisions based on comfort, convenience, and immediate reward. They want fast results, fast validation, fast progress, fast success. And because everything is centered around now, they never build anything that lasts. The Stoics warned about this short-term mindset thousands of years ago. Seneca wrote, "It is not that life is short, but that we waste much of it." What is wasted? Time spent chasing what feels good instead of what is good. Time spent on distractions instead of development. Time spent focusing on the moment while ignoring the future. The 90% think life happens to them. The top 10% think life is built by them through small, consistent, long-term choices. Here's the truth. Your future is being shaped right now by the things you choose to ignore: your health, your money, your habits, your discipline, your knowledge, your emotional stability. These are not decided in a single moment. They are accumulated over years of small decisions. And that is exactly why the 90% never see results. They quit too early. They demand progress too quickly. They expect change without enough time for change to occur. They start a new habit and stop within a week. They set goals, but never sustain the daily work. They get excited, then lose momentum the moment things slow down. The top 10% operate differently. They don't live for instant gratification. They live for inevitable transformation. Marcus Aurelius said, "What you do now echoes in eternity." The top 10% understand this deeply. They know that every small, disciplined action compounds. Every workout, every page read, every dollar saved, every hour of deep work, every moment of restraint, every act of patience. These small actions accumulate quietly until, one day, they create results so massive that everyone else calls them luck. But there was never luck. There was only long-term thinking. The 90% ask, "How quickly can I get something?" The top 10% ask, "How powerful can I become if I commit for years?" There is a difference between temporary motivation and long-term identity. The 90% depend on motivation. The top 10% depend on systems. They design routines that work even when they're tired. They build habits that operate even when motivation disappears. They train their mind to resist the temptation of quick reward. Epictetus taught, "No great thing is created suddenly." The world today encourages impatience, instant entertainment, instant answers, instant pleasure, instant escape. But mastering anything meaningful requires time, boredom, repetition, and commitment, things the 90% avoid. And that is exactly why the top 10% rise. They are willing to wait for the harvest because they are willing to plant seeds daily. So ask yourself, are your actions feeding your future or only feeding your feelings? Are you thinking in days or in decades? Are you choosing comfort now or strength later? Are you building or just consuming? Are you committing or just starting over again and again? The top 10% understand that the life they want is created through years of consistent effort, not days of excitement. Your future self is watching you. What you do today decides who they become. Most people don't fail because they choose the wrong path. They fail because they never choose a path at all. They drift. They wander. They react. They wait for direction from the world instead of creating direction from within. This is the silent tragedy of the 90%, a life lived without intention. Marcus Aurelius warned about this when he wrote, "A person who does not know what they want cannot live freely. Without purpose, life becomes a cycle of distraction. You wake up, move through the day, do what's expected, escape into entertainment, and repeat. You stay busy but never feel fulfilled. You work hard but never feel aligned. You achieve things but never feel grounded." The 90% confuse motion with meaning, but the top 10% live differently. They don't drift, they decide. They choose what matters. They choose what deserves their energy. They choose who they become. They choose their values, their direction, and their standard. Purpose is not something they find. Purpose is something they build, piece by piece, through intentional living. Seneca said, "If a person does not know to what port they are steering, no wind is favorable." Meaning, no amount of motivation, opportunity, or luck will help you if you have no direction. The 90% wait for clarity to appear. The top 10% create clarity by taking action. Purpose is not discovered in your mind, it is discovered in your movement. You try things, you fail, you learn, you refine, you grow. And through that process, your direction becomes clearer and clearer. Think of your life right now. How much of it is intentional, and how much is inherited? How much is chosen, and how much is simply repeated? How much reflects your deepest values, and how much reflects external expectations? The top 10% ask themselves these questions often. The 90% never ask them at all. Most people fear choosing a path because choosing means eliminating alternatives. But eliminating alternatives is the only way to rise. Focus creates progress. Progress creates confidence. Confidence creates identity. Identity creates purpose. The Stoics believed your purpose is not a job, not a passion, not a title. Your purpose is the way you live. It is the standard you hold, the values you practice, the discipline you embody, the contribution you make, the character you build, the direction you commit to. Purpose is not a moment of inspiration, it is a lifestyle. The 90% live life waiting to feel inspired. The top 10% live in a way that makes inspiration unnecessary. They wake up with intention. They choose their habits deliberately. They guard their time like treasure. They remove what doesn't align. They say no often. They pursue meaning over pleasure. They build their life instead of inheriting it. This is why their lives move upward. Not because they are lucky or gifted, but because they live with clarity while everyone else lives in confusion. So, ask yourself honestly, are you living on purpose or just living? Are your actions aligned with who you want to be? Do you make decisions or do you let life decide for you? Are you shaped by your values or by your environment? Do you know where you're going? Or are you drifting? The top 10% are not extraordinary, they are simply intentional. Their purpose is their compass, their habits are their ship, their character is their anchor, their discipline is their engine, and with this combination, they go where the 90% never reach. There comes a point in every person's journey where the path splits in two. One path is crowded, noisy, familiar, the path the 90% take. The other is narrow, quiet, demanding the path only the top 10% choose. At this final divide, something becomes painfully clear. Everyone wants a better life, but almost no one wants the changes required to earn it. The 90% want success without sacrifice. They want growth without struggle. They want discipline without discomfort. They want clarity without introspection. They want meaning without effort. They want transformation without identity change. But Stoicism teaches a truth the top 10% live by. You cannot reach a higher life with the habits of a lower one. You cannot stay comfortable and expect to grow. You cannot stay distracted and expect to focus. You cannot stay emotionally reactive and expect mental strength. You cannot stay unfocused and expect purpose. You cannot stay undisciplined and expect results. The top 10% rise not because they are special, but because they are willing to do what the majority refuses to do. Marcus Aurelius said, "Waste no more time arguing what a good man should be. Be one." In other words, don't talk about potential, don't fantasize about change, don't dream about success. Live it, prove it, become it. That is the dividing line. The 90% want improvement faster than they want discipline. Any difficulty, and they stop. Any discomfort, and they retreat. Any doubt, and they quit. But the top 10%, they persist. They endure. They keep going when it's boring. They keep going when it's quiet. They keep going when no one notices. They keep going when no one applauds. They keep going when results are invisible. They keep going when their old self begs them to stop. Because they understand a Stoic truth the 90% never learn. Consistency is more powerful than intensity. A little progress every day destroys the illusion of overnight success. Think about this. The life you want is not built in dramatic moments. It is built in the invisible choices you make when no one is watching. The choice to stay disciplined, the choice to take responsibility, the choice to master your emotions, the choice to embrace discomfort, the choice to think long-term, the choice to live with purpose, the choice to rise when it's easier to fall, the choice to continue when the 90% stop. This is why only the few reach the top. Not because the path is hidden, it isn't. Not because the steps are complicated, they aren't. Not because the journey is impossible, it isn't. It's because the price of greatness is paid in daily effort, and most people want the reward without the payment. Seneca said, "Most powerful is he who has himself in his own power." This is the final truth. The top 10% win not because they dominate the world, but because they dominate themselves. They don't fear effort. They don't fear pain. They don't fear the long journey. They don't fear standing alone. They don't fear slow progress. They don't fear change. They fear only one thing, wasting their life. And that fear pushes them forward while the 90% stay behind. You now stand at that final divide. One path is crowded, the path of excuses, comfort, and drifting. The other is narrow, the path of discipline, responsibility, mastery, purpose, and long-term greatness. Only one leads to the life you truly want. The choice is yours. But the top 10% have already made theirs.